Our next storyteller is Ramzi Takieddine. Thanks. Ramsey's been a resident of Madeira for 8.5 years. I know a lot of you are probably familiar with Ramsey. He's very involved in our community, very involved in the Parks Board, and has been just a tremendous community volunteer for us. He works as an engineer at P&G, and his story is about immigrant parents, and it's called A Love Story.
Thank you very much. I do not normally use mics. Those of you that know me know I'm relatively loud, so I will do my best to do well with this. Also, if you see me getting wrapped up like a boa, please let me know. I will try to move around a little bit, maybe. You're right. So good evening. My name is Ramzi. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity to share the story with you today. So a huge thank you to the Madeira Inclusion Committee for the invitation. Was more than happy to join. I'll talk more about the Inclusion Committee at the end as well. I'll admit that when I initially prepared for this, I approached it like the engineer that I am. Facts and dates, timelines, graphs, and I was sharing with my mom a little bit of the preparation. She just shouted, "Boring!" It's my own life and I don't care. You have her to thank for that real feedback. The feedback of our daughters and our wives tend to be very direct. So instead, I took some great advice from Tom during a meeting and looked for a theme to bring it all together, which led to this love story theme, which hopefully you'll find at least slightly more interesting than my mother found my first take. So the story that I'm going to tell you is a little bit about a choice that so many of our families make and so many of our parents made and many of us probably made as well, which is the choice of love over an easy path. The choice of love. Excuse me. Sorry. So, this isn't even the sad part. That comes later. I think I'm anticipating. Okay, deep breath. Over parents, will, men wishes. There we go. Got it. And the choice of love over self and ease of your own life. So let me explain a little further. My dad was born in 1957 in Beirut, Lebanon. He's the youngest of 5 children. If you've never been there, in times of peace, Beirut lives up to its name, which is the Paris of the Middle East. It is an amazing city and an amazing country. My father's family descends from a long line of political leaders in Lebanon. We trace our family back 16 generations, so roughly 400 years. I actually have a picture on my phone of the family tree. I thought about bringing it, but it's like really big, and I was worried it would not survive the car ride. So I have a picture on my phone if you want to see it. His family is Druze. If you're not familiar with Lebanese politics, which I would not expect you to be, it is highly religious in its orientation. So the Druze religion is an offshoot of Islam that's a very small religion, and it's centered in the mountains in Lebanon and Syria. So it's a relatively small religion. My grandfather held many positions of authority in Lebanon. So he was the governor of northern Lebanon, the minister of defense, and then an ambassador to Sudan, Yugoslavia, and Cyprus. So my father was raised in this environment, schooled in the international schools of many of these countries with many political leaders that are currently in the region today. However, his time in Lebanon was cut short with the outbreak of the Civil War in 1975. I think many of you who grew up around this time are probably familiar with the Lebanese Civil War and the associated impacts that had on the population there. So he needed to find a place to go to school. He was 18. He had 2 friends from his time overseas that happened to settle in central Louisiana. So central Louisiana is where he went. He was able to get into school in the middle of the school year there. While many of you don't know Lebanon, I can assure you that if there's an opposite, it's central Louisiana. So quite the adjustment. My mother was born in Tegucigalpa, Honduras in 1958. She is also the youngest of 5 children. Her family has an interesting past as well that I'll very briefly touch on. So her father is Palestinian, and they fled the violence within the collapsing Ottoman Empire and moved to Honduras in the early 1900s. I have no idea why they went there, but that's where they ended up. My grandmother's family left Scotland and had been in Roatan for about 4 generations. Those don't know, Roatan's an island just off the coast of Honduras. A lot of cruise ships stop by there. And so they came together together in a fundamentalist Christian church where they were both missionaries for most of their lives. So that's how they got together. My mom, when she was graduating high school, wanted to come to the U.S. for her education. Her sister was living in New Orleans, so she tried to get into school there and failed. And I will set aside the academic implications of that on my mother. So she found a small program in central Louisiana where she could pursue a degree in, I think, economics or something similar to that. And it's there that she met a handsome, mustachioed, dark gentleman. He told me that he fell in love at first sight. She thought he was obnoxious. She was probably right, but he's the kind of guy who like grows on you over time. So my parents' courtship was a pretty slow one. A lot of skipping class to watch Days of Our Lives, which amazingly was a show back then. And a lot of driving around in Louisiana with friends because that's pretty much all there is to do. The reason it was a little slow is they both knew it would end. So they knew that eventually my dad was expected to return to Lebanon, marry a Druze woman, and grow up in politics there. That was his future. And my mom was going to return to Honduras and get involved with the church and marry a nice Christian boy. But as their love grew, they began to have doubts. The doubts led to conversations. The conversations led to an ultimatum from their parents. And my parents have never been very good with ultimatums. And so they eloped. It was the most reckless thing either of them have ever done, but the best decision that they ever made. So my parents moved from Louisiana to Houston to Nashville, which is where I came into the picture, and my two younger sisters. They then moved to Cincinnati, which is where we were all raised in Sycamore schools. We had the chance very often through our childhood to visit the countries of origin of my parents. Every summer was spent in Honduras, about 4 or 5 weeks. I got to go to Lebanon quite often once the situation there calmed down geopolitically. What I can say a little bit about a first generationer like me. So first generation, for those who don't know, is immigrants are my parents. I'm first generation. We can pass in many ways. So my accent, my hobbies, my sports fandom, my deep love of Skyline as evidenced by my waistline. But we are also very different. And this is exactly what my parents wanted when they chose to stay here. People very proud of our heritage. I'm extremely proud of my heritage on both sides of the family. I'm very involved in Hispanic networks at P&G and, Lebanese, and engage a lot with that family. Sorry, listen. Yeah. But still getting the opportunities that come from growing up in the best country in the world. So that combination is exactly what they wanted for us. My parents, this is the sad part, so I'll get through it. So, thanks, Doug. So my parents were married for 37 years until my dad's death in 2017, which I'm still, working through a little bit. Nice. Oh man, it's going on a blue shirt. Yeah, it's not Skyline. Should have gotten a bib. So my sisters and mom live in Columbus now, so they're very close by. And I chose with my wife to raise our family here in Madeira. My 3 Irish, Polish, Lebanese, Honduran girls will never know what box to check on any form. They're in the back there, little monkeys, smiling and blushing. They don't like being the center of attention. So I'll close then with, when people think about immigration, we tend to focus on why people leave, wherever they're leaving from. But for my family, I think the story is much more about why they chose to stay. They chose to start their family in the U.S. and develop a life from scratch here. They chose each other. They chose love. And so in preparing for this, I had a chance to talk to a lot of you and many people about their stories. Each story was unique, and you could see clearly how their story led to the amazing person that they are today. Inclusion is not about metrics. So inclusion is not about numbers. Inclusion is about valuing people for who they are and what they bring to our community. And that's why I'm so grateful for the efforts of the Inclusion Committee to strive towards that ideal. Madeira is where I chose to make my home and start my family's unique story. And I'm very proud to do that alongside all of you. So thank you all for your time, and thanks for being a part of what makes this place special.